And sorry, apologies for the late start for the people who were zooming in. We had some technological issues. Anyway, I'm going to pass over to for our opening today to Robert and Chris, and Robert will explain.
Today is actually the start of New Zealand Sign Language Week. It's actually the third official language in New Zealand. I know you can't see me on the screen, but anyway, so we just decided to do the karakia in Maori and New Zealand Sign Language at the same time.
Good everybody, karakia tātou. E te whānau o te kaunihira o te aorere, whaia te mātauranga kia marama. Kia whai take, kia whai mahi katoa. Tū mai, tū kaha, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa, a tihei Māoriwara.
Thank you, Robert. And we were going to mention the King Charles's coronation, and that is the sign for crown in sparkly, which I really like. I might start doing that more often. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Chris. And thank you to everyone that has braved the weather to come out and be part of our Golden Bay Community Board meeting. We have Kim zooming in from Richmond today. Not great travelling weather, so best to keep them safe and sound. Okay, so we will start with we have one apology today, sorry. We have an apology from Joe Kennedy from Nelson Tasman Civil Defence. He's waiting over there to see what's going to develop with this weather. So we will rebook him hopefully for June. We're unsure. We're unsure at this stage. We will rebook him definitely. And yeah, Sally's asked if we can have an update in the meantime of who's who on Civil Defence and Golden Bay. Emergency.
So two different things, emergency management, Nelson Tasman emergency management, which Joe is.
Which Joe is.
Manager of, and
Yep.
Civil Defence is another.
Yeah. So we're just like an update of who's who.
Through you, please. The local incident controller has been now appointed, Darren Quigley. He was planning to attend with Joe.
Yes.
So when Joe comes, we'll invite Darren as well as the local incident controller for Golden Bay.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us into public forum. Oh yes, sorry, thank you. And probably leave of absence too. Goodness. Does anyone need to get away early? So that was quick. Cool. So Grant has moved the apologies be accepted. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Board Member Hewison. All those in favour? Lovely, thank you. So public forum. So we have 30 minutes allocated for public forum, and speakers are allocated 5 minutes each. So speakers must be respectful, avoid repetition and criticism of elected members and staff, and avoid speaking on matters subject to legal proceedings. So first up on Zoom, joining us on Zoom, we have Dr. Rotman. Welcome, Dr. Rotman. Nice to have you here. We'll unmute you and we'll be away. I think we'll unmute you.
Kia ora.
There you go.
Chris.
Hi.
Kia ora koutou. I'm called Dr. C. Takuingoa. This is my brand new husband, Carl Weber. Thank you so much for letting us speak to you today. We really appreciate your time. So we moved to our land in Puponga almost 6 months ago now. And unfortunately for that entire time, we did not have a legal address because our Wharariki Road driveway got moved by the TDC as part of our subdivision, but never updated to the new numbering system. But then we were told by the council that because we'll ultimately have 6 residences on our little eco community that we're building, we could name our private right-of-way and therefore get individual addresses for each of those residences. And so we followed the TDC street naming guidelines, and it seemed this was a relatively straightforward process, which was signed off successfully, or so we thought, on November 23 last year by Kim. Thank you, Kim. That was a couple of weeks before we moved down. So we were super excited that we were able to name our road with a name that was so meaningful to us and what we were trying to do here with our eco community. And we were getting the sign printed and onto Fulton Hogan to get the contractors to install it. And that was something that we hoped we could do before our wedding in March. However, and to our great surprise, several months after we received that sign off, we found out via the GB Weekly that the straightforward process seems to have caused a whole lot of confusion and consternation with the community board. And we want to apologize for that, because we didn't believe or even know that we'd done anything untoward. And it seems that the TDC may have given us the sign off without consulting the community board first. And so we were unfortunately caught up in that at what we believe is no fault of our own. That has caused us a bit of hardship, because it's now been 6 months that we have been running 2 businesses out without a legal address, and our fate is at your hands. So we were told that the road would be on the agenda. We were not told that the road would be on the agenda in any of these meetings that were repeatedly had, and no one reached out to us about it. And so we just really weren't aware that this was such an issue that we should have fronted up about. Sorry, we're new to the Bay. We had no idea how this process works. So apologies again if we caused any consternation there. But that first February 13 meeting really blindsided us, because we thought we did everything right. Yeah, and that it was a done deal. So right now we seem to be at an impasse, and it seems like you will decide the fate of our address today. So we just wanted to make sure that we could actually tell the side of our story. We did not apply for a Te Reo Māori name because we didn't feel it was appropriate for us culturally, because, you know, we're both not Māori. We did look to see if we could find a Māori name for Old Man Rock, who overlooks our whole land and is obviously such an important feature here, but we couldn't find one. And so when we talked to Mana Whenua Ki Mohua, we asked if we could be given a Māori name that was of specific importance to the iwi, that is also specific to our whenua, but we haven't heard back for a couple of months. And I know that Ursula is now gone, and the iwi is really busy with other stuff than our private driveway naming. And so we were hoping that maybe we can resolve this and stick to the name that is already in the system and has been forwarded to LINZ and that the council is using for us, so we can finally have a legal street address and run our businesses with that. And so, yeah, we are hoping that maybe we could stick to Bifrost Rise, and apologize again for any of the issues that were caused.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I just want to apologise on behalf of the community board too, that you found out by the GB Weekly that there was an issue. So, and that's not how things should work. So, and I apologise that there's been no further contact to sort of work you through this process. So,
thank you.
yeah. Can I just clarify? So you approached Mana Whenua and you asked for a name in Te Reo, but haven't had a response as yet?
After we were told that we couldn't have our name, potentially, yes, we did approach it, and we did talk to Ursula before she left for overseas, and she said she'd forward it to Margie, but we haven't heard back since then. And yeah, that was a couple of months ago. Yeah, and it's just getting to the point where we, you know,
yeah, for sure. Okay, all right, thank you. Does anyone have? They were just questions for clarification. Does anyone else have any information they need clarified there?
It might pay. I'm just going to contact Margie.
Yes, yes, I was going to suggest that. I might. So see, I've got your email. If you're happy to, I will email you after this meeting with some contact details for who you can be in touch with, and we'll go through that process from there.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you.
Not an item on the agenda for the
Yeah,
board
no.
member today.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I was just looking through. I thought maybe I missed something. Thank you, Jess. It's not an item for the board to approve today.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah, no, it does get confusing. But yes, I'll send you an email.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. Appreciate it.
Fine. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Who do we have next? Noel. Hi, Noel.
Good to the board and councils. Today, just on a weekend, I happened to be looking at the 10-year plan, and man, she's a real forest of information underneath, that's for sure. And I just came across an item there that there was a community board or a community meeting last Tuesday with invited stakeholders. And I know the 10-year plan sets out strategic priorities and healthy, sustainable living, natural environment and such. And it also contributed to a diverse society and celebrate our culture and heritage. But nowhere on any of these 10-year plan priorities do I see anything actually about heritage. You know, we've got cycling, climate change, landfill, and all that kind of stuff. And I was just a bit concerned as to when I read through Wakefield and Harper and all the other submissions, there didn't appear that there were anybody on the invite list from the elderly. It didn't appear to be any sort of things that were brought up by Grey Power or anything about, you know, housing or whatever for the elderly. And I didn't see anything at all about the museums or heritage at all. And I know that wherever these invites went out to, it was very selective where they went to, and I was just concerned. And I'd like to know what was that criteria for the invited stakeholders, only limited to those things to do with cycling and all that sort of stuff. Why it wasn't inclusive of a representative at least from Heritage Museum or Grey Power or somebody like that. I mean, this museum across the road, for example, I mean, there's a huge array of data and artifacts from this whole district. I don't know if council's even thought about it. I mean, there's an article that Jared Fundash put in the paper last week about that Waka, the Anaweka Waka. That's a huge, significant piece. And I don't know if the council's ever been approached or if they thought about maybe if it gets to stay in play, I hope it does. Is there any provision, any talk about that? I mean, I just feel that invite just needs to include. If we talk about heritage, it's in the 10-year plan. Actually, it has to have somebody from the museum or heritage or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. Duncan, welcome.
I'm just speaking about Rex and the Secretariat Water Board. I attended a meeting with them this morning where it was agreed we'd have to invest around $40,000 in a UV treatment for the water. Seems that coal has gone from 2 parts per million to 15 parts per million quite quickly, and this is something that's been on the agenda for a while, but has to be implemented quite quickly to secure the quality of the water. Now, it's sort of got me thinking, and us thinking, that perhaps the time has come where councils can't simply say this is a private water scheme and we wash our hands of this matter, because that's effectively what's happened over the last 3 years. Rex does a phenomenal amount of work to preserve the water quality for 52 houses, a school and a hospital. That shouldn't fall on one man who's, I mean, probably pretty qualified now, but technically underqualified. There's a couple of issues here. There's obviously a number of water schemes in the Bay that are also all facing the same sorts of hurdles. The way I see it is that I think the time has come where, and I know it's a big issue nationally, things are going to change and ebb and flow, but there should be some sort of avenues for subsidy or discretionary payments to these water boards for maintaining the water going to these households. Council have made money off these households in terms of limb reports, resource consents, and innumerable things over the years. You know, there's an obligation to maintain that order to these households now, and the school and the hospital. Compliance regulations all changed. You know, it's not the old days anymore. And to have it all fall on private and unqualified private individuals to come up with the cash for significant changes they had no control on is a bit beyond the pale. Now I can see that all the different water schemes still being done ad hoc. So everyone's doing their own thing. So that's another problem. My request is that to look at, council looks at the discretionary payment or payments in this terms of this particular UV treatment. That's incredibly important because once you have a coli, it's very difficult to trace the source. Probably always going to be there in some shape or form and look and rise. So what's going to happen when we spend the money is there for us? It's going to leave very little in the coffers for contingency. We've got plumbing issues, pump issues, diversion issues, piping issues, which other water boards will also face. Now, I see it that in schools like Rex aren't doing this anymore. Who's going to take it on? The council ultimately may have to take these on, and you don't want to be taking on things that are lemons and turn into a huge job. So what I'm suggesting is that we put our heads together, grant access to, easy, unfettered access to the resources and the brains that the council have in terms of our consultation and simple things like today. What is the best strategy here? What is the best water path? Should we drill deeper? You know, can we move this? Things like that we have to make as amateurs, residents, for the benefit of the school, hospital, 52 households. And I think the time's come when we look at these things as not private entities, but as part of this community that we should all be, you know, supporting, especially council be supporting, because effectively you're just leaving it to other people. There's avenues there for things like inputs to be taken, to be paid for perhaps by council, like the $50 a test for testing. So there's, you know, might be 2 tests. I know Rex was saying to me before, some of the demands proposed in the future was testing every day. Things like that, $50 a test. There's testing, there's inputs, for example, the UV pump, UV system you're putting in needs to have a maintenance component every year. That could be taken by council just to ease the pressure on the households, ease the pressure on us having to find the money for the other things that we're also expected to fund. So that's effectively where we're at. And the last thing, we don't want these things to collapse and we need to maintain, but where are the other avenues for funding, for grants? Everybody at the meeting was in the dark. We're all being told there's other avenues for getting some funds to support us, but where are they? There's no advice from council to say, listen, you can apply here, you can apply to this government entity, you can apply for this council entity, you can apply for this charitable entity, whatever, to secure some funding for these things. So,
5 minutes now, Duncan.
okay, so that's pretty much where we're at with the picture. But I think going forward into the future, you know, the council could be left holding a really big baby on this one if we don't actually forward together going forward from there. Right.
Thanks, Duncan. And we had registered for Zoom with some questions, but the questions are relevant to community boards, so we'll respond to. I've responded to Reg as well, but I can't see him on.
No, you can.
Okay, all right, excellent. Oh, well, thank you to everybody that spoke at public forum. Okay, so moving into,
They might want to check this out.
yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, if you could take that out in the hallway, that would be awesome. Any declarations of interest for any items today? Everyone is happy? Excellent. Confirmations of minutes from April the 3rd. Has everyone had a chance to read through, have a look? Everybody happy? Great. Can I have a mover for those, please? Great. Moved by Councillor Butler, seconded by Board Member Dixon, all those in favour?
Aye.
Lovely, thank you. So no late items, no presentations, so that moves us straight into the Chair's report. And this wasn't very large either today. So previous items raised in public forum. So the 4 public forum from April were all addressed, all regarding the Pohara Shared Path, and they were all answered in the meeting by Robert Dick. We do have the next item is a request for increased level of service for the maintenance of the Pohara to Taka cycleway. So Councillor Hill's noted, and I've noted because I've sent photos myself when it's flooded or the weeds are encroaching, that there've been several service requests relating to it, and it's come before the operations committee with no further progress. I would like the community board to strongly request regular maintenance of the cycleway.
We make a recommendation through the chair to whoever it is,
Yeah.
operations,
Sure.
to actually have that, so an actual.
So sorry.
So a
We
request,
pass a resolution.
pass a resolution, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yes. So guess the Goldman Community Board would like to put strongly request in there, regular maintenance way of a cycleway between Pohara to Takuka. Nice and simple.
You see that on screen?
The, I think, council talk about levels of service. So that's where contractors are given big contracts for roads or whatever, and in there there'll be it'll state, what sort of standards are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the contractors around the cycle path. So I've had a lot of people contact me over it since it's been, not all that long after since it was built, once it started getting weedy about it. And I notice it a lot, and I've sent in messages about it. At the operations meeting, I don't know what we were speaking about, but I just brought it forward as a question to staff around, just to say that it gets overgrown very quickly and doesn't, and so I thought our resolution might relate to having the levels of service reassessed to ensure that it's maintained at a better standard.
That sounds very reasonable. Yeah.
So that would be in terms of
Reassessment of levels of
just
service.
mowing and spraying.
Yeah, and I know there was something around the spraying, and I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
There was some weed or something.
Yeah,
if you
there
sprayed
was.
for it, it was going to spread backwards.
Bristol grass.
Yes. Yellow bristle grass. That's it.
Yeah.
But that was on the fence line
That
with
was
the
the fence.
neighbouring properties.
Yeah.
The bit between the road, and I think they might leave it there as a sort of, it's a not a barrier from driving over it. But you can't bike over it, but if there is a grass strip between the road, it just does feel a bit less exposed.
Mm.
But that grows over, so in places at the moment, the path's probably this wide.
I noticed it, especially around the
You know.
corner on Naval Tasman
Yeah.
Drive there. It's really
It's really
narrow.
narrow.
Yeah.
So it's to do with, it's partly to do with how often it's done, but it's also, if we could get some agreement with staff around the contract that the standard is that it doesn't encroach in any more than or
Level of service.
something
Yeah.
specific.
Okay. So Golden Bay Community Board. Have you worded it up, Jess, or shall I start now?
No, I'm trying to at the moment, based on
okay.
what you've said.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it's all right. I just think there is the other issue of the flooding. There.
Yes.
This seems to be very low lying, where it goes round the corner at Able Tasman
Yes.
Drive.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
just seems to be kind of lower.
That's right.
And I know that I don't know if that would come as maintenance or not, but do you want to just keep it to to weeds and that, or shall we include in there that the flooded bits are just have a bit more material on?
I think so. And part of it was remedied. It was a bit further down where it was filled in. And I did say there's still further, and there's two issues there. So I think one is that it's just low there's a big
Mhm.
pond, you know, and part of it was just got, and it fills up, it floods in from the paddock in some places. The other issue, you know, I'm reluctant to raise this publicly, how can I frame it? There are, some places along the path where residents next door have visitors or clients to their place parking on it, and it's just taking it down to mud and making more big ponds. And there's a, you know,
What is that?
I don't know what you say, but
What a
you know, when I drive by, there's one place where, you know, in a day, I'd say there probably is 6 or 7 different cars sitting outside, and I suspect they're
It'd be really nice to
clients.
have
Drives me
a
nuts.
low.
And not only is
area.
it just mucking up the path, but I think about children biking along that road, and there's a bloody car sitting there, they've got to bike out onto the main road to get around it. And there's this sort of, every day they have cars parked on that lane. So for me, it's about both those things.
Safety.
Yeah, and that where the path pools after rain, if they could be fixed.
The safety is important,
Mhm.
that people.
Yeah.
park
We can
on-
write to
on the
people.
sides way.
Cars off the path.
A letterbox drop perhaps all the way along here, just to remind people.
Compliance would say we need to take a photo of the car, identifying it at the property, for them to do anything about it. But that's getting a bit, you know.
Yeah, that's what I say, a letterbox drop all the way along. All the places that do back onto that path, and just say, just a reminder not to park your car on the path for your visitors.
Or even 2 at once.
Yes,
And you know who I'll be talking about, Noel, because we drive by there, don't we, every day, and there they are.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to get on. I've kind of captured it, but I'll let you
They
do
have
yours.
the owners' cars.
They are visitors and clients. Yeah.
So, sorry,
It's all
through
good.
you, Chair, is there
Yes.
room for them to park inside the cycleway between the fence, the property and cycleway?
No, and they'll be on road reserve there anyway, but there is room in their property, because I look in the
Oh,
back as I
in the
drive by,
property,
and there's,
right.
why don't you put your car in there?
So we'll just Jesus, you know.
Even some, you know, posts.
Yeah, that's just post with some
Yeah.
even railing. I think it makes it harder to load, though, doesn't it?
We have resolved the issue of people driving over the road markers and breaking them by not having any there, so that's not happening.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe it's the Amazon share that's.
Oh, great, yeah, perfect.
There we go.
Okay. So, gone there, requesting the service agreement be reviewed to approve the maintenance development past Harkaway and what's the gravel?
That the areas that puddle,
Yes,
flood, surface water that gather
that
surface
gathers
water,
east
that'll be
to road drainage. surface-
remedied.
Drainage or
What did you say,
elevation.
surface water,
To
ponding,
really ponding.
maybe to
or
remedy
surface, I
the
think, yeah,
areas. of
ponding
it.
and surface flooding. There we go, cover our bases.
No, I think they're 2 different things.
Oh,
It's running into each other, isn't it?
because you do get the surf, yeah, maybe just ponding is a better word.
And that the ponding and surface flooding issues are remedied.
Yes, yes.
They have.
Yep.
A lot of people say about them, you know, they just love that the lane's there, but drives them nuts.
Use it in one.
And that it gets over grass so quickly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great.
Yes. Ceiling, a way of dealing with that, but it's.
Oh, silly.
Yeah.
Oh, it cost $1 million to build it in gravel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
But then,
but then there's the
That would-
maintenance, you know.
Yeah,
How
and
many
if they-
years?
exactly, and if they had, but now they've got a gravel one, it'd be actually cheaper to seal it. Because you'd have to put this gravel down before you sealed it. So in a way, it's probably,
There'll be another whole trick with
Yeah.
the layout, there'll be a complicated engineering thing around what you have to service, you have to underneath.
All right, I'll read that back. So the Golden Bay Community Board received the chair's report. Oh, no, hang on, sorry. Oh, no, I'll just read this back. Sorry, request standards and service agreement to be reviewed to improve maintenance level of the Pohara to Taka Gasaka and that the ponding and surface flooding issues are remedied. So is everyone happy with that? And we'll move on and then we'll move it all together at the end. Lovely.
I mean, longer term, given money so tight, it would be great to have a different finish on it.
Mm. Yeah, I was just going to ask that, Grant, actually, do we want to put in a third bit about the safety or is that?
I
How
don't
do
know
we,
what,
how do council fix that though?
but cars. parking
Yeah.
lot, I think we just do a service request. for it.
Yeah. I'll put that down.
Sorry, through you, Abby.
Yes.
That is actually an offence that can be
Yeah.
under
sure.
the
Ah,
other control enforcement.
They should allow, they could delegate community board ticketing powers. I think I did get a break.
They just want a photo of the car parked there.
I didn't do.
That's not as much fun. All right then. We could send photos, so we could be proactive and send photos.
Yeah,
And
but you know, those bloody community board members.
Oh, I haven't phoned them up.
with their cameras,
again, honestly.
policing and getting tickets for people that got no money.
Better to have the
Oh,
compliance.
they-
So when coming over
True.
here to do the Taka
Oh.
Township, pop out to Pohara and make sure there's
Yes.
issues out there that are sorted, so,
They do.
you know,
now.
it's.
Yeah.
They do, eh?
Okay, so we'll talk to service request compliance. Cool. All right then. Got excited. Liaison rep updates. So no written updates were received, but does anyone have anything that they want to feedback on from their various committees?
Couple of things. I went to the youth council meeting. Last week. Yeah, 25th of April. We sat in one of their meetings and they were just organising a event at the school, which seems to be their big thing at the moment, is engaging with the kids at the high school and looking at ways to support their mental health, support. Support available for the students finding out what they like. And yeah, so that was interesting and enlightening, and they are keen to come and participate in this.
Cool.
And
Good job. Cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's good. And then this morning I was out and met Hugh Gully at Collingwood School. He just showed me around the developments there, and then just sort of had a bit of a discussion about what options, for this, if they've got any students who are interested in leadership or governance or anything that perhaps gets into them, and maybe, just let them know that, get in touch with me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
It's support.
Excellent. I should have added in that I went to the Coating Hall triennial meeting, and that's good. They elected Brian Leach again as chair, and they've got some really cool plans. They're putting a deck out the front, and
right.
they're doing that very slippery entranceway they've got. And yeah, so that was good.
Oh,
Yes.
Speaking of balls, another last meeting, but Ruben, the chair of the only government, they've got a tank, a big water tank coming to be installed as sort of a community asset.
Mhm.
They've got firefighting or
Oh, cool.
emergency water. Still in behind.
Great idea.
Chair, Is that a council hall? It is.
Isn't it?
Sure.
If I know the Purple Boy Board is part, it's owned by trust. And I didn't know that.
I think that obviously
No,
can-
Purple's the-
Too sure. There's
It's
only a
managed
couple.
by a community group.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
only a couple that aren't owned by council. and they
It's got a hawk.
still
Yes, it
remains,
does.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
East-
yeah.
Yes, so yeah, it's only East Takaka and Puramahoe that aren't owned by council. Any other updates? Excellent. Right. So yeah, so the recent HOEs and things are the rural conversations, the long-term early clean engagement HOE, the Environment and Regulatory Committee in full council, which was the 27th of April. Does anyone have any feedback from any of those? Oh, Chris, sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry, it's been a lot of apologising already, it's only 1 o'clock.
Amazing.
I went to the rural conversations at Collingwood along with Councillor Butler. I did wonder if the board had got notice of that. Was that on your calendar?
We did. I wasn't able to attend because I was already having that Tuesday to attend it. The Mariah
Yeah,
from work.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Kim was
but
really
you-
good at letting us know.
you guys were going no,
I'm surprised I missed it.
Well, no,
was it on your calendar?
No, they,
think so.
we all definitely.
I
Oh,
was at the calendar, it's calendars.
So this is
I
something
don't know
that,
if it was on the calendar actually. I didn't pop up on mine, but I did know it was happening. But that might have been Kim, because you and I feel like we talked about it in the meeting. That's why the
Yeah.
Mariah was on the second, because Kim highlighted that the rural conversations was on the 1st of May. So I do feel like we talked about that, but I'm gonna double check now.
so it's,
Show up in my.
so I was aware that you were there and
Yeah.
you might have been, and so I was just wanting to check in around. Actually, that the board do get notified of council meetings or events. And
That's
can
not
come
my
along.
calendar.
So the rural conversations was organised by council, was organised by strategy, both strategy policy, wasn't a regular. I think it must have been strategy. So there's been a wee bit of a glitch with not going to the community.
So I think if we can just, maybe an email just to Janine, just to say that, can we just get that, you know, if there are events in the bay, like the river meetings coming up. you got
Yeah,
notice of that?
Yeah, David's been good. He's
So have the
done
board,
that.
have you all got that? in
Have
your
you all got
calendar?
the?
Yeah.
The gravel meeting?
14th,
So they
Yeah,
sometimes go to
River Care.
Airbnb and they need to be sent round.
Yeah, I
Is
was
that
pretty sure
possible?
that David said the River Care went to everyone, though I thought I checked. Maybe not.
Claire Redbourne organised the rural conversations at Collingwood.
Yeah.
Who was? Sorry.
Claire
You haven't got them?
Redbourne.
Okay, sorry, I'll send that round.
So,
Just a prompt about.
Yeah, definitely didn't have a rural conversations one, but. All right.
Can I just,
Yeah.
further, Nathan, is that all right? So in
Mhm.
terms of the long-term plan here at the Marae, so I thought it's a good thing for the board to partner with Mana Whenua around, it being the sort of, the idea that they be the heart of the long-term plan sort of process in the bay. We're trying to get something out of the community more than council coming in and so that was the impetus as I understand it for that. And this was the first in a long process around the long-term plan.
Yes.
And I note that, we all had input into invite list and it wasn't really intended to be a right across
final.
all the range of, all the activities and interests in the bay. It was an initial thing and actually quite a few of the people who were invited couldn't make it. But I know there's been some commentary around, how diverse was it and who was there and who wasn't. We all were suggesting people be invited. And so I think it was a good enough thing to start with to get it going. But I would like to see don't know what the intention is, but I would like to see, you know, another event like that, maybe the rec centre, and then, you know, others who have an interest, and those that couldn't come, or those, I thought Karen was invited, I'm not sure. But, anyway, I could think another event at
Yeah.
some point here.
Oh,
would be great.
absolutely, that'd be great. I just noticed that Motueka Community Board held a similar event, but they had the same to us. They had a targeted invite workshop, and then they opened it up to community as well, because they thought, oh well, you know, we want to be inclusive and give everyone a chance to show up and have their say.
Yeah,
They had 5 people.
yeah.
So and they have more staff there than, so it's that real balance. So, but yeah, absolutely, I would like to see another one with the wider invite.
And, yeah, quite hard, isn't it? Because you end up with just sort of the same sort of things getting presented back to the group around the housing's an issue and something else is an issue. But how to have targeted an event where people are invited to come along, because then you do get more people, but that it's more detail, and well, we can do this or this or this or this,
Yeah,
more than that generalised.
no,
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that, there was, I think that we put feedback on the process of the shifting around of the invitation list. That, you know, people had dropped off and the,
Well, not,
you know, and so that was my understanding, that somebody was actually dropped off the list and then put on again, and it was just a bit, it's just a bit messy, and I think that I just like us to feedback to maybe to Alan that
Ellen and I have had a chat about.
that they could just do a reset and do a little bit of a consideration about what went wrong and how could it be improved.
Yeah,
So there was perhaps an effort to try and distill it down a little bit too much. Yeah, and not taking into account the fact that our community has got a huge number of things.
I think I absolutely hear what you said. I think though we did have a really diverse range.
Well, we did, yeah,
With-
but
and a lot of
were
people
invited
hadn't,
in the
with 2 people, a lot of people didn't RSVP that were invited. And we had a couple of them actually show up, which is still good, but yeah, the process was tricky. But having said that, I still think we had a really good group of people who wore a real range of hats. So I was quite pleased with the range that we had, and the staff were really pleased, and the quality of the feedback was really good.
I think we just will be a bit careful about saying that people have been dropped off the list, personalising it, because I think it was looking at organisations and representing groups.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
just through the chair, I think in a situation like this, making personal contact, as you know, like with a phone call to each organisation and or person, would possibly have a little bit more impact, especially for a thing. Just an email is not necessarily the best way of engaging people, I think, and that would be my feedback.
Yeah.
Just to improve it.
Yeah.
and the board make those calls.
Oh, yeah.
I don't imagine we're going to try it with staff, we're
No,
just try and
no,
make them
I think-
phone calls.
No.
So
Yeah.
maybe the board
Board
might.
could have offered. I don't know,
We could
Ellen
all
did.
grabbed a bunch of people
Yeah.
each and done those phone calls.
Ellen sent me through the list a couple of days prior with only half responded with RSVP, so chased up a few, but yeah, a phone call is a much better.
Yeah, personal invites, we would, more likely to get the people.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
And maybe an evening event,
Yeah.
where, and you might target, those that weren't able to come, or
yeah.
still think Karen was invited, but
No,
she wasn't.
Museum.
No, I just had a look. I just had a look
So
back
if
through.
you
So
find
she was
groups
on the
that,
list.
could, but it's not like the process was trying to
No,
make sure everyone was represented, it was.
and there was some confusion around dock and forest and bird and fins, and because the response back that I got from staff was we're not really targeting them. We went with them regularly. We want people we don't normally
Yeah.
get, and then it was so. But yeah, tightening up the process.
That, yeah, so that
Personal
wasn't really
advice.
clear to us before we started to
Mm.
make
Yeah.
a list, was it? So
No.
that's what I mean. about
Yeah, and when the list
That's-
came out, and we emailed it to them, that's when that feedback came back. and then-
Yes, which
yeah.
was, which us about pace.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So
So,
we
no,
can make that. point.
Yeah. I'll have I'll have a conversation with Alan. Oh, any other feedback on the recent council and community voice? So well, that feeds into the Rivcare meeting, which is scheduled for the 14th of June. I will forward that email from David. Sorry, I checked it and everyone got it, but
Is it in the calendars? That's the thing that.
It's in the calendar.
oh, so everyone did.
I got them.
Yeah,
So
oh,
then-
good. That's, I
Because
was so
it's-
sure everyone
Right.
got it. Thank you. So it is there.
Did you
Yeah.
say yes?
I haven't yet. I need to say yet. I'm still catching up on my emails.
Oh, good. I'm so pleased because that means that I wasn't going into Takaka Rivcare meeting. Good. Excellent. Okay, the action sheet. The 2042 is ongoing. We're just waiting. I think we're waiting for John to come back to us with the 2042. Great.
I just jump in on that. He's keen to come to the next
Yeah,
Golden
Jess,
Bay
do we
Community
want
Board.
to speak to that? The Zoom, the meetings in Collingwood, or are we still waiting?
I can give a quick update on that. So I've been out to the fire station with one of the information services team members to check through any tech that might be required. So we've got a small unit coming that is on order so that we can run Zoom meetings from the Collingwood fire station. We also have, I don't know if that it's been previously communicated, but we have a Starlink unit now that is a Tasman District Council
Great.
asset that is going to live here, and it is for use in civil defence emergencies as well, and will be made available to civil defence should we require it for communications.
Right.
But it will be here, so we can also use it out at the fire station, and if we are holding off-site meetings, we can take internet with us.
As long as the power's on.
As long as we've got power, we can have internet.
For a generator. Yeah, and you can move those things around, can't you?
Yep. So we've got the portable kit.
Awesome. So we might look maybe at September. Surely everything should be here by now and get us back into our 9, 12, 3.
Yeah.
Is that how I remember?
We were hoping to see whether or not it would work for June. But it's getting a bit tight.
Yeah,
It's getting really.
that's what that's
So-
what I push that. I said, yeah. Okay, great. Hopefully we'll get an update about that. Excellent. Okay, and the next item is the approval for the new street name. So I will, we've talked about that in public forum, and we will.
Sorry. Can we just email Reg and tell him that? He's asked the question many times,
What question?
whether we can go to Collingwood. Just
I will.
appease him by sending him an email, just. let him
Well,
know
I'm
that's
sure that our wonderful Joe will be popping it in the paper, which Reg will read.
And once we have a date.
Yeah,
we
I'd
can
prefer to wait for it.
join that.
All right.
What Reach likes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, definitely we do a blast out to Collingwood, say, hey, we're coming your way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really cool. So the mana whenua, what was the action? Item anticipated for inclusion in the main agenda, so they may have seen that and thought, oh, it was in there.
The naming.
Yes. Let's take that off because those actions are complete. And
Would you?
I actually know the update. Sorry, needs to still come.
Are you interested in contacting Margie just so that you can
Yeah, I
get a
I will.
lowdown on where they are with that?
Yeah, I'll do that before I give Margie's. I'll do that before I give Margie's email to.
Right.
To see.
There's an email, sorry, there's a hui tomorrow. In Kane Hui.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll have a chat to Margie tonight.
So
The
I
whole
just sent
thing.
her an email yesterday.
I think the whole thing's been unfortunate, really.
Really has.
You know, in terms of it's private land.
private right away, but they want it to
They
be
went through the
legal.
process.
Yeah, they did.
and
Not their
so-
fault at all.
No.
So I might have a conversation with Margie and see where, anyway.
And yeah. Whatever the result of it all is, it might be the board write a formal letter to the landowners, you know, expressing whether we think it's appropriate around the process. Hasn't been good.
No,
Okay, so I'd also
On a
like to
number of
add to
fronts.
that. Is that we sit down, staff, appropriate staff and go through what this process should be like in the future, because this is not the first time it's happened.
but there is a process
Yeah,
and
I know.
staff neglected to follow
Yeah.
it. We put their process in place the last time this happened to us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, staff didn't update their group manager either.
No,
So,
that's right.
Yeah, just through the chair, I don't think that the community board should take this on as being responsible because, I don't know that we would be,
no,
so,
mm,
I
I think,
just in terms of an apology, we could write an apology, but, it was another process that was actually involved here.
Yeah, I think it doesn't come to under our remit as being, we do name things here. don't we?
Yeah.
So it comes under our banner, and although things happened out of our control, I don't think I was thinking of an apology so much as, you know, an acknowledgement around,
yeah.
I mean, this isn't being satisfactory at all.
Mm.
You know, you might agree it's a good.
I'll have a chat to Maggie this afternoon and
I
see
also
where
what
we can
comes out
go.
of that.
Yeah, if
I
we
also
can get it
think-
resolved.
I think there's also been a, you know, big staff change at AM, which
That
possibly
hasn't helped,
has,
yeah.
hasn't helped.
Yeah, absolutely. And whatever we need to do to support them in their process, we will endeavour to do. So. Okay.
Abby, could I just clarify just a perceptual one?
Yes.
When things are going to be, or when we request things are added to the chair's report,
Mhm.
how does that happen, or what's the process?
So you would email me. Did you
Yeah.
get my response?
Yes, I did.
Good. So as you correctly said,
Yeah.
they were service requests, so
Yeah.
they've gone to Robert. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll follow up on those for you. Yeah. Service requests to Robert.
To Robert, from Robert.
To Robert, from Robert. So that brings us to the end of our action sheet, unless anyone's got. There is an action missing off there, which was on me, and that was for me to do the special projects funding working. So I will do that and have that round so that we can advertise our special projects funding. Yeah.
So as far as community board members go and service requests, so can a community board member put a service request?
Anybody can.
Anyone.
Yes, so you can do it yourself.
People off the street can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come in and put one in.
I've
Yeah.
done it many times.
But I've got yours, so
Yeah.
I've forwarded it to him already.
Okay.
So anyway, just for
Yeah.
the future, it's probably more, you know, efficient to,
Yeah.
you know,
Uh,
start to do it yourself. And also, if you want to know, if you need to know, please do it. Please. Because I
Yeah.
can give you guidance about where to go, which comes the 400 staff from Jess. And Jess out of the 400 staff.
Yeah.
To who to go
Who
to,
to
because
go
it
to,
can-
yeah.
you do sometimes you have to go to the wrong.
It takes ages. And it is always probably better too to lodge a service request because then it's officially in the system and it gets processed through emails can get lost. So
Yeah.
I must actually check.
I find it interesting to know what service requests we are lodging each, and so, you know, if I think sometimes you would have got emails from me just for information about
Yes,
things that
that's
I'm
good.
involved in or got going, or someone's in touch or whatever, just so you know what's happening.
Yeah.
So if we're emailing Jess to say, I know it'll be a phone call sometimes, but if there's an opportunity to CC us all in on some service request, I
Yeah,
think it's just good to
that's
know what's
Yeah.
happening.
So we don't double up.
Yeah. And just go FYI and that's all it needs. That's a great idea.
Good,
But
yeah.
are we still on your Tuesday report? We've moved on.
No, well, we're just about to move on. You've got Do you want to jump?
Do you also get the weekly updates? I think you do, don't you?
Yep.
So you know there's a coronation tree being planted
Yes,
Thursday.
yes, and Robin says, read it or I'll come out and get you.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
The weekly updates, Robin,
Friday's
someone
update.
sends them out on a Friday.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't
Robin
understand
says,
that.
Robin says, read me.
I've read it.
Yeah, I read it.
On
I'll get you.
Thursday, must be this week, the coronation tree is going to be planted in Jubilee Park with the Waimea kindergarten pupils. The mayor will attend.
Was it in his calendar?
So we're not going to part.
You don't have a photo between that doing what we used to.
I don't think we did.
She's in the cupboard, I think.
Oh,
She has covered.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the chair's report. So if we just move the chair's report and the resolution. And we'll bring it back up. So no one can see it. That would be great. Thank you, Grant. Okay. So if everybody's happy, Grant has moved that. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, Chris.
Let's Chris.
Yeah, I'm good. I was thinking about something else.
Oh, good. Okay, seconded by Board Member Hewitton. All those in favour? Lovely, thank you. Okay, chair report. Financial report. Oh,
I
yes,
just know where to bring it in.
go on.
Thing about the Central Water Scheme, that's really, like, it's no good for us to bring it to the next board meeting a month later, and so there's a whole process within council around water schemes.
Yeah.
You know, with private schemes and the council schemes, and Mama's currently a
Yeah, that's
council
separate.
scheme that's gonna be,
That's,
yeah, I know, but
yeah, but
How-
this is the
as an
big one.
as an example, Hamama's currently a council scheme that was going to be handed to the local people, so a reverse of what's being suggested, but there's, you know, all the staff that deal with those schemes, that's who Rex, I think, needs to be in touch with and
I
meet
was
up
going to
with.
have a chat with Kim about that, so that's good. So I'll
Yeah.
just,
So I think if we can
I'll-
yep, whatever, it being a board process.
oh, absolutely.
So that there's a meeting happens with the right people and Rex and the group about what the options are there. Because actually, the notion that the council's making money off people's regionals, consents and limbs, you know, which is a nonsense really, that no, not a money-making venture to issue resource consents, but that money go to paying for, but it's more about that the group understand what will be, you know, whether council has an interest in taking it over. It has been suggested that when the new regulations come in and kick in and people need to start upgrading their schemes, that private schemes may well just go, that's too much for us, and then council will need to come in and take them on. So that's a relevant conversation to have, of course. This just happens to be triggered a bit sooner based on their E. coli.
Yeah. I'll have a chat to someone, probably Jess, and then find some contacts for Duncan and Central Trust.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be helpful.
Oh, yeah, I like
Sorry,
Mike.
what did you say?
You might Schrewer.
My friend Mike.
Or even, yeah, a meeting with Mike Schrewer.
Start with
Mike. Possibly Richard Coogan, because I think this is a very significant issue, this, because it's a huge, big supply that supplies the hospital and the school. And this is major.
I think it's supposed to be Centre too, doesn't it?
Oh, this one?
Thanks.
Oh,
I think it does, because it goes up, and I'm sure we've not. They're here.
But you've got that
Those are
massive
fire
roof up there, we can just take rainwater.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've had like notices from Central Trust.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that was just, maybe that's on the other side.
So, just to continue on with that, on Friday, Thursday, last time, the council, you were there too, that there was a comment made of passing, and I think it was Jim Cuthbertson who just talked about that because I asked him whether or not it's going to be a potable water supply at Motor Street at the new dump station there.
Yeah.
He said there is, but they had to go down a huge distance to get water that was clean enough. He said the intermediate layer of water was not clean enough.
Oh.
So I was talking to Rex and he said, oh yeah, when they were pumping that, it was all running down the road.
Oh, yeah.
They got sediment into their water supply. So it's just quite a big issue that,
Yeah.
you know,
This
this
is beyond.
big picture of
Yeah.
this Takaka Aquifer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in terms
You
of
on
meet,
it? You on it?
yeah. In terms of a meeting with staff and the Central Tākaka Board, it's not to say that we, you know, we wouldn't want to be involved. It could be that one of the councillors on a board member go along if that's what the group would like, council would like. So it's not, you know, moving away from being involved, but that's the right place for them to
Yeah,
have that
absolutely.
and to learn what's possible and what's not. And if they want to move towards saying, actually, it's too much for us now, we want council to take it on, then is that possible? And how does that happen?
How does it, yeah, what does it look like? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
so my
contact
reason
Mike.
for Richard, the mention of Richard was that just about this issue of taking book schemes on.
Yeah.
Is that sort of at his level?
Mm.
as to whether or not
Okay. Well, I'll start with Richard and work my way down.
they- Yeah, so he's
But
got,
I was just,
Mm.
I'm just wondering if that, what you're proposing would be open. Would it be specifically for that scheme or a little bit wider, because there's a lot of schemes around, well, a number of schemes around Gordon Bay in a similar, at a similar kind of
Yeah,
juncture, and that information would be very useful. But I mean, think of Tukurua
yeah.
specifically, but also Butter and
I could mention that when I talk to Richard.
Well, I imagine that something just with Central Tākaka initially would be really important because they've got something very specific and now about the UV.
Yeah.
But then to have a wider meeting, and I think that does possibly happen. So I know the reps from all the schemes do get together, and I don't know whether they get together with staff or not, but that then have a more open thing
Yeah.
around the regulations generally and implications, which may or may not happen. I'm not sure.
yeah, I think, well, through my involvement in the Tukurua scheme, I know that there's been meets with other
Yeah.
schemes, but that's more about the national Three Waters legislation, that the impact of that, rather than directly with council. I mean, we have consent from council, but that's sort of being overridden a bit by the larger things at play.
Yeah.
So it's council making changes or taking schemes on or whatever, or requiring action from certain private schemes. There'd be lots of people interested, I think.
And in the conversation at council level around when we get informed about the regs and changes and things, you know, and I think just in the government level stuff too, perhaps Kim might want to say something about this, but you know, there has been conversation around it. We could get clarification about this from Mike perhaps, but that if small schemes say we're just not able to do this, people aren't willing, then council will need to take them on. It's my understanding. Kim will be more informed than me.
Oh, Kim's got a hand up too. Kim,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just picking up on Councillor Hill's point there. So there's a new regulator in town on these drinking water. So that's Taumata Arawai. They've already assumed that role under existing legislation. And the thing that's in transition is currently the council are providing the sort of services in some situations in the community and others. And that'll transition to more towards the Three Waters entities. And there are some real issues around the scale of some of those supplies. So it is, I guess it's work in progress, but really we're facing the reality now that the regulator has a set of standards to deliver to, and it's really casting some doubt on a whole bunch of current community suppliers who don't meet those standards. So, you know, it is a dilemma that sort of exists across the wider council, new regulator, and community suppliers right now.
It might be that the board organises and promotes a meeting between staff and the water scheme. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
We could see if that's.
Okay, that sounds good.
I imagine Golden Bay's not the only one.
No,
No.
there's like 70,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
70%, or I thought it'd be more than that, actually.
That's a lot.
And I think then the number that the anticipated number that's unknown,
Yeah.
known about, there's a number being guessed at that, which is a heck of a lot as well.
Yeah, right.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's probably.
It's
very
gonna be a big
appropriate.
issue. Huge.
Yeah, just sort of to get ahead of it. Just
Right.
the information, nothing else, yeah.
You've got to host that, wouldn't
Yeah.
Cool, all right.
I wonder if we should approach Whenua, because it's so important to have their water
Mm,
views on board. Or is that too jumping the gun too early?
I think it's a different, yeah, I think it's a different thing slightly in terms of the schemes that are operating and what impacts will it be on them. I think we're keeping a focus there. Would be my-
All right.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Just a question.
Okay, well, that brings us to our financial summary. I am happy to take that as read, unless anyone has any questions. All right, would someone like to move we accept the financial report? Oh, I'm happy to move we accept the financial report. Can I have a seconder, please? Second by board member
Feel like it's
Hewison.
already dodgy.
Yeah.
I'll put my name to that.
Yeah, all right, all in favour?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you very much, and that brings us to the end of our community board meeting for May. I'll hand over to Councillor Hill and board member Hewison for our closing.
Karakia tātou. Kia hora te mareno. Kia whakapapa pounamu te moana. Aroha atu, aroha mai, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. Excellent. Chris, could you send me please my cell phone number? I've only got an email and I think.
I'll give you her landline now if you like.
Oh, yeah, great.
I'll